Okay, so I've got my background to my cartouche done, and I still have two layers here. I've got the background layer with the background that I filled in, and I've got the top layer with just the black cartouche. If I turn the bottom layer off, I can see this is all I have on this layer. Now, I want to go in and I want to color this. I don't want to leave it black. But in order for me to do that, I've got to isolate the artwork from the rest of the layer. So I'm going to leave the background layer off for now so I can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to make sure I select the top layer where the cartouche outline is. And I want to scroll over to the thumbnail right here and hold down the Control key and click one time and then go to Select Pixels. Now what that does, as you can see, it's selected all the pixels in this layer. So what that means is, if you recall, whenever you have an area selected in the Photoshop, you can only work in that area. So now if I try to grab a paintbrush, and let me go up and grab one of these brushes here, and then choose my ink color. Let's go with a red for now. Now hit OK, and now I've got my red loaded here, and I've got my brush. Now if I go in, make the brush a little smaller. Now if I go in and paint, it's only going to let me paint inside the cartouche where the pixels are selected. So I'm going to go and lay down the flat color of red here. And then just fill this in. And then now I might want to go with, let's try maybe a darker red. And let's go up and pick another brush. Let's go with something like this. Go with this here, and then let's make the brush a little larger, and see what that looks like. Okay, it looks pretty good. So I'll just kind of go around and kind of fill this in and get this pattern here, kind of all the way around. You can do whatever you want to do. You don't have to do what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to create a interesting looking outline for the cartouche. Okay, so I've kind of got that done. So now I want to deselect. So I can do that one of two ways. I can click on the selection tool and just click anywhere outside the document, or I can just go Command D. Either one will let me deselect. Okay, now I'm going to turn the background layer back on just to kind of see how this looks. Okay, it looks pretty good. A little Christmassy, but Christmas is coming up. So I like what I've got so far. Now the next thing I want to do before I start to add my text is I want to fill in this area here. Okay, I want to make the inside of the cartouche a different color. So first thing I need to do, I don't want to do it on the background layer. I want to do it on a separate layer in case I want to delete it, or in case I don't like it, or for whatever reason I want to keep it separate. So I'm going to go to my layers window and I'll click on the pull down menu, go up top to new layer, and I just hit OK. So now I've got this layer sitting on top of the cartouche layer, which is not what I want. I want this to be between the cartouche layer and the background. So I'm going to take this layer 3 and I'm going to move it down between these two, like that. And so now this layer here is between the top layer and the bottom layer. So now I'm going to go in and choose a couple of different colors. Let's go with the gold. Let's see here, maybe here, and then for the background color, I want to choose maybe a darker gold, maybe something like this. All right. So I'm going to go up, select my brush, choose a new brush, and I'm going to go with one of the special effect brushes that I used before to create my background. So I'm going to go with this one. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, that's not too bad. So I'm going to go in and fill this in with this gold graphic now with the gold brush. Now if you notice, it's leaking, it's kind of leaking out over the red. That's okay because I'm going to erase that later. So I just want to go in and fill this in and make sure I have all this filled in. Now you don't have to use this brush. You can use any brush you want. I'm just using this because it's kind of a cool brush. Here, and fill this in. And make sure I get rid of any green that I see here. And here, and here, oops, there's some here, and So now I've got the inside of my cartouche, the color that I want it to be. But if you see, it's leaking out over here. So I'm going to go to my eraser tool and choose an eraser brush. Let's see, let's go a little bit bigger. Let's go about, oh, it's too big. Let's go about here, a little bit bigger. Yeah, right about, maybe a little bit bigger. Nope. Alright, I'll go with this. So now, if I go in and just start to erase, I can get rid of all those brush strokes that kind of leaked out over the red area. So I'll just go in and erase all this and just get rid of it. I'm going to leave this here for a second. I'll show you why in a minute. And I'll just erase all this so it just shows on the inside. Now, this area here, I want this to have a clean line going down the middle. And I can't do it with the brush tool. So I'm going to take my rectangular marquee tool and I'm just going to come from outside and come in here, and I think I want it to stop right about there, about halfway between the ropes, just like that. And then I'm going to hit delete on my keyboard. Okay, and that's going to get rid of it. And I can just deselect. So now I've got a nice clean line here. You can make that line wherever you want it to go. If you want it to extend out here, that's fine. If you want it to come in a little bit, that's fine, whatever. But you probably want to have a nice clean line here for this. Okay, so I've got my background, I've got my cartouche colored in, and I've got my the inside of my cartouche in a different color as well. I'm going to save my file so that I don't lose anything I've done. Now, the next thing I want to do is to add my text.